Hey Geometry, I hope you're doing well. We've got the semester 1 review for your final exam, and I have this video for you. The first part is vocabulary, so we're going to go over this vocabulary. You'll see that it is a matching type vocabulary, and this is what it will look like on your final exam. Okay, so an undefined term. A good example of that would be like a point. So G says a point is an example of this. A line segment is when you have a line that has points at the end of it. So that would be like L, a portion bounded by 2 points. Corresponding angles are when you have angles that are in the same relative location. Those would be corresponding angles. So that would be J. Four says consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles are when you have, they're both on the inside. Those are consecutive interior angles. And they're also supplementary. So consecutive interior angles would be N. Vertical angles are kind of like a bow tie whenever you have those angles that are congruent. So vertical angles would be E. Just an angle is when you have two rays that form that angle. So that would be H. A right angle is when it equals 90. I hope you guys know that. That would be P. An acute angle is when it is less than 90. And obtuse is when it is greater than 90. So that will be B and I. Adjacent angles are when they're right next to each other. So if I try to draw adjacent angles here, they're angles that are right next to each other. Those two angles are adjacent angles. So adjacent angles share one ray. So that would be O. An angle bisector is M. It's when it's cut into two equal angles. Complementary angles are when you have angles that add up to 90. Supplementary are when they add up to 180. So that's going to be A and D. Parallel lines are lines that will never touch, but they lie on the same plane. So that will be F. Perpendicular lines are when lines cross at 90-degree angles. Let's see. Oh, there's one down here. K. They form four right angles. Finally, a linear pair. Linear pair is when you have a line that has two angles. So they're supplementary and adjacent. So that would be C. And it looks like I never marked off E from vertical angles. So that's everything. Very good. I recommend that you guys make flashcards or whatever it takes for this. The vocabulary will be very, very similar on your assessment. So you want to make sure that you're studying these words. Okay. Moving on to the more mathy portion. For chapter 1, it asks us to find the distance. I'm going to zoom in. So chapter 1, it asks us to find the distance. For regular geometry, to find the distance, we did it using the Pythagorean theorem. So we need to start by plotting these points. 4, -5. And 2, 1. That's your A and B. For the distance, you'll use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. To do that, you'll need to draw a right triangle. This length is 2. This other length is 6. when you do 2 squared plus 6 squared, you get 4 and 36, which is 40. When you square root both sides, you need the square root of 40, which, if you break it down, 2 and 2, 2 and 5, it'll reduce to 2 root 10. You will need it to be the furthest reduced on your test. Remember that your test is multiple choice. For the midpoint, the formula for midpoint is basically the average of your values. So you'll have x plus x, which our x's and y's are given to us in the ordered pairs. So we'd have 4 plus 2 and negative 5 plus 1. 4 plus 2 is 6. Negative 5 plus 1. This would give me 3, negative 2. A lot of people will get these two confused. Midpoint, it's a midpoint. It should give you a point. Distance should give you a distance. Next up, it says identify the coordinates of B, given that T is the midpoint of BK. So, this K is an endpoint. T is the midpoint, they said. And the other endpoint is our B. And we don't know what those values are. But that's our other endpoint. Normally, and we know those values are going to be an X and a Y. We just don't know what they are. Normally, we take, like what we did above, we take our formula and we plug in those pieces and we get our midpoint. Well, this time they give me the midpoint. So if I set it up the same way, I would have my endpoints added together. My endpoint for my x's are 0 and x. We don't know what it is, divided by 2. My y's are 3 and I don't know what the other y is, divided by 2. Those are my endpoints, and we're supposed to get the midpoint. My midpoint they actually gave us is negative 2, 2. When I go to solve this, notice that x is supposed to simplify down to give me negative 2. So 0 plus x over 2 equals negative 2. When I multiply by 2, I have 0 plus x equals negative 4. 0 plus x, we can just say x is negative 4. For the other value, the 3 plus y over 2 should simplify to give us 2. So 3 plus y over 2 is equal to 2. When I simplify this, I'll multiply by 2 to get rid of that fraction, and then subtract the 3, and I got that y is 1. So our final answer for B is the value for xy, negative 4, comma 1. That is the value of your other endpoint. The next one wants us to look at this figure. Make sure you guys are reading the directions on this. It says Q is the midpoint of PR. If Q is the middle of PR, then these two are equal. We did not know that except that they gave it to us in the directions. If we have a midpoint, then we have two equal or congruent segments. So PQ is congruent to QR. When I set those equal to each other, 7x minus 16 equals 4x plus 2, and solve. I get 3x equals 18. Keep solving. X equals 6. That feels like our final answer, but remember, they always ask for extra stuff. They want us to find PQ. Yes, x equals 6, that's wonderful, but they want to know what PQ is. That's this length. So you need to take that 6 and plug it in. For PQ, we'll have 7 times x, which is 7 times 6, minus 16. And that simplifies to give us, let's see, 42 minus 16, 26. Very good. All right, moving on. Looking at 20, they say that the angle with x is 4n minus 3. The angle with y is 6n plus 13. Find the measure of the angle marked x. So the angle marked x. Well, we know that these are a linear pair. Linear pairs are supplementary, so they should add up to 180. So we'll have 4n minus 3 plus 6n plus 13 equals 180. Remember that you need to combine your like terms, which would be 10n plus 10 equals 180. I'm going to subtract the 10 constant to the other side, which gives me 170. And when I divide by 10, I get that n is 17. Yes, that's our answer for n, but of course they're asking for more. It says to find the measure of the angle marked x. That x is 4n minus 3, and if our n is 17, to find that value of x, we need to do 4 times 17 minus 3. 4 times 17 is 68, minus 3. The value of angle x is 65 degrees. The next one says to find the measure of AED, and then it asks you to classify it. Whenever they say the word classify, they're wondering if it is acute, right, or obtuse. Before I do that, I need to look at my values here and see if I can solve for something. I know that these two angles are vertical angles, and I know that vertical angles are congruent. So I can set them equal to each other. 5x equals 3x plus 10. When I solve this, I get 2x equals 10 and x equals 5. Yes, x equals 5. Of course, that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for the measure of AED, which is this angle, 5x. When I plug in x, oh, hold on. They're asking for AED. Let's go ahead and find this AEB first, and then we'll go ahead and find AED. 5x is 5 times 5, which is 25. So this angle is 25 degrees. But they're asking for AED. To find AED, that is this big angle that doesn't have any values of x in it. However, I know it is a linear pair with the 25. So to find AED, we can take 180 minus 25. And so I got that angle AED is 155 degrees. That is correct so far. Once again, they asked for more. They said, how would you classify it? This one, we would classify 155 would be obtuse. You need to do the math before you classify it because it doesn't always look like it actually is. So you want to make sure by checking the degrees. Since 155 is over 90 and less than 180, it is obtuse. Moving on to the next page. You might want your calculator. Also, the directions are telling you everything that you need to know on this. They tell you that SV is perpendicular to RT. Perpendicular means it makes 90-degree angles. In addition, they said that RSU is 17x minus 3. They tell you that UST is 6x minus 1. It says find each missing measure. So let's first just find x. If this is the case, then both of those angles are forming a linear pair. So 17x minus 3 plus 6x minus 1. They are a linear pair, which means they are supplementary, so they add up to 180. When I do that, I combine my like terms. Let's see, that's 23x minus 4 equals 180. Add 4. When I divide by 23, I get x equals 8. So our answer is x equals 8, but they're asking for a lot more over here. I'm going to go ahead and erase what I've got on the picture. I knew from before that we had perpendicular lines. They ask us to find several angles. I also knew. So they ask us to find RSU first. RSU is this angle. They told us before that RSU was 17x minus 3. We now know that x is 8. So you need to plug 8 in the x spot. 17 times 8 minus 3 is 133. So I'm going to erase all this craziness and just put with a 133. Next, they ask me, what is UST? UST is the angle that we were just looking at. You could find this several ways. You can plug your x equals 8 into 6x minus 1. You can also just subtract from 180. 180 minus 133, you'll get 47 no matter what. So 47 degrees is UST. Next, they ask for WSV. This one is a little bit challenging. Notice that you have vertical angles here. So if this one was 47, this one is also going to be 47, which is not what they're looking for yet anyway. They're asking us for this angle right here, WSV. But I knew that this entire angle was 90. So if I take 90 minus 47, I'll get the value of WSV, which is 43. Finally, they're asking for VSU. VSU is also a lot. VSU is this entire angle. Now, I know that this is 47, and I know that this piece is 90. So to get VSU, you need to add those together. 90 plus 47, and you get 137. So now we have all of those values. All right, moving on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is like all of those if-then statements. So looking at 23, it says identify the hypothesis of the statement. If it is Friday, then it is $5 smoothies at Smoothie King. Ooh, I love the smoothies at Smoothie King. If it is Friday, the if part is your hypothesis. The then part is your conclusion. So they asked us to identify the hypothesis. The hypothesis would be it is Friday. Next, it says to write the conditional. Conditional is your if-then statement. Converse is when you flip it and you do the then part first. So geometry students at FZE are the best. So the conditional would be if you are a geometry student at FZE, then you are the best. The converse flips that statement. So it would be if you are the best, then you are a geometry student at FZE. Same idea for the next one, except this one's a little bit mathy. For your conditional, they're talking about quadrilaterals. If a shape is a quadrilateral, then it has 4 sides. For the converse, you have if a shape has 4 sides, then it is a quadrilateral. The biconditional is next, and biconditional is when you have both statements that are true, and you'll have if and only if in there. So winter break starts on December 19th. The conditional would be if it is winter break, or if winter break starts, then it is December 19th. The converse would be if it is December 19th, then winter break starts. So the biconditional would be winter break starts, and then your key words, if and only if it is December 19th. Very good. Moving on to the next page. They want us to reorder this statement based on law of syllogism. So you're trying to look for those matching. With law of syllogism, you cut out the middleman. So you're trying to see ones that match. For example, I will sleep till 8. That is also I will sleep till 8. So you're trying to find ones that will match up. If you start with D, it says if it snows a lot, then school will get canceled. If school gets canceled is on A, so we have D, then A. Then I will sleep until 8 a.m. We just saw that one on F. If I sleep till 8 a.m., then I'll have plenty of time to review my geometry notes. If I have plenty of time to review my geometry notes is next on C, then I'll feel more confident on the next quiz, which goes to E. Then I will earn a good grade, which goes to B. And then finally it ends with, I will treat myself to a smoothie at Smoothie King. So your conclusion is just whatever is left over, which is if it snows a lot, then I will treat myself to a smoothie at Smoothie King. Very good. Now we have some algebraic proofs. It says that we're going to fill in the reasons with the algebraic proof. So they have the reasons below, and we're just having to fill it in. So they always start with just the given. This next step, it looks like they're dividing by 8 on each side. That will be the division property. Oops. Given is right here. This is the division property. Then when they simplified, anytime you simplify, that's substitution. Then it looks like they're subtracting on each side. That would be the subtraction property. Then they simplified from here to here, which would be substitution again. Very good. Now it says that Sam has written an algebraic proof, but he's got all the steps mixed up. Help him choose the right order for his proof. So given definitely goes first. What should he do next? Well, it looks like he could multiply by 2 to get rid of that, and he did that in step 4. So step 4 should go next. So when I look at my options down here, either B or D look good so far. After he simplifies that, that would simplify to 5x minus 9 equals 16, which is this next step, number 5, in substitution. So I would say that D is your final answer because it goes from step 1 to step 4 to step 5. We don't go to step 7 yet, so B is out. Very good. Moving on to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is wanting us to determine if we have parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Parallel is when you have the same slope. Perpendicular is when the slope is opposite reciprocal. Remember, opposite is when one is positive and one's negative. Reciprocal is when it's flipped. When I look at this line, I need to figure out what the slope is. When I find some points, the slope is, when I think of rise over run, it's falling 2 over 3. So the slope of this one is 2/3. We need to check the slopes of the lines given. If I look at B, the slope of that line is already given to me, y equals mx plus b. It's 3 over 2. If I have 2/3 and compare it to 3 over 2, those, one's positive, one's negative, and they are flipped. So this is opposite reciprocal, which means it is perpendicular. For the next one, let's see. We've got to get these to be y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to divide by 6 on this. When I divide by 6, I have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. When I look at that fraction, negative 2/3, it's exactly the same as the one in the picture. So that would be the same slope, which means it is parallel. The last one, I'm going to get my y all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2x. That leaves me with negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. When I divide by negative 3, I have y equals positive 2/3 x, because the negatives cancel, minus 3. I have a slope of 2/3. Now the slope that they had before was negative 2/3. So they're opposites, but they are not reciprocals. So C would be neither. Very good. This last one on this page says, what is true about the lines represented in this system? We're trying to see if they're parallel or perpendicular. We need to find the slope. So I'm going to divide by 12 in this first one, which gives me y equals mx plus b. 4 over 12 reduces to 1/3. 8 over 12 reduces to, let's see, 2/3. The slope of that one is 1/3. When I divide by negative 3 on this other equation, I get that I have a slope of negative 1/3 and then a y-intercept of negative 3. So the slope is negative 1/3. They're not the same. The slopes are not the same, so they are not going to be parallel. The slopes are also not opposite reciprocal. They're opposites, but they're not reciprocal, so it can't be perpendicular. Coincide would mean that they're the exact same line. They're not the exact same line, so that's not it. This next one says that they do intersect, but they're not perpendicular. Maybe they intersect, but not at 90-degree angles. D is going to be our answer for 30. Very good. This next one is very, very similar. You have to find that y equals mx plus b. So it says, what is true about these lines? We have y equals mx plus b for this first one, so the slope is 2/5. The next one, when I divide by 10, I get y equals mx plus b. 4 over 10 reduces to 2/5. So 2/5 is our slope. Since the slopes are the same, the lines are parallel. Very good. I got to take a quick break and then I'll get back to it. All right, so looking at number 32, it says write an equation for the line that is parallel to the line x minus 2y equals -8. Remember, parallel is the same slope. So when I look at this line, I need to figure out what their slope is. When I solve to get y by itself, I'll start by subtracting x, then dividing by -2. I get that y is 1/2 x plus 4. That is their line. And their slope is 1/2. So, knowing that we need something that is parallel, what should our slope be if our slope should be the same? Well, if their slope is 1/2, our slope should be 1/2. And then we're using the point 6, -1. To answer this, we're going to need our point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so I'm going to plug that information in. Y minus, the y in my point is -1, equals m, which is 1/2, times x minus the x in my point, which is 6. When I distribute, first of all, minus a negative will turn into positive. So we have y plus 1 equals, when I distribute, I multiply that 1/2, and then I'll move the 1 over. So my answer for this one is y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Looking at the next one, it's the exact same equation as above and the exact same point. They're just looking for perpendicular this time, and since it's perpendicular, that is opposite reciprocal slopes. We already found that this was y equals 1/2 x plus 4, and that their slope was 1/2. If their slope is 1/2 and our slope is supposed to be opposite reciprocal, our slope should be, if it's positive 1/2, our slope should be negative 2 over 1. All right, now I'm going to plug in my information. This is our slope, and our point is 6, -1, so I'm going to plug this information into that point slope form, which I have written in blue. Y minus, the y in my point is -1, so minus -1 equals our m, which is -2 this time, x minus the x in the point, which is 6. This is y plus 1, -2 times x, and -2 times -6 would be positive 12. Running out of space, but let's go ahead and subtract the 1. I get y equals -2x plus 11. The next one is looking for perpendicular again, so that's going to be opposite reciprocal, but we have a new line, so we need to get this y by itself. I'm going to subtract 2x, so my y is -2x minus 8. That means their m is -2. Our m, our slope, is needing to be opposite reciprocal. The opposite reciprocal of -2 is going to be positive 1/2. Our point is 4, 2. Using point slope form written in blue above, we'll have y minus -2 will turn into plus 2 equals 1/2, parentheses, x minus 4. When I distribute, y plus 2 equals 1/2 x minus 2. Subtract the 2. My answer is y equals 1/2 x minus 4 as the equation of our line. All right, for number 35. All right, I really cannot scroll. For number 35, it asks us to identify with the special name. I'm going to start with alternate interior angles. I'm going to do this in green. Alternate interior angles are when they're on the inside of the transversal and on opposite inside of the parallel lines and on the opposite sides of the transversal. So angle 3 and angle 6. You can also say angle 5 and angle 4. Consecutive interior are when they're on the interior, but they're on the same side of the transversal. So I'm going to do this in red. That would be like 6 and 4. Or you could also say angle 3 and angle 5. Alternate exterior is on the outside of your two lines, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So an example of this would be angle 1 and angle 8. You could also say angle 7 and angle 2. Let's see. For corresponding angles, I'll do this in purple. Corresponding angles are when they're in the exact same location in a different intersection. So angle 1 and angle 5. I could also say angle 2 and angle 6. I could also say angle 4 and angle 8. And angle 7 and angle 3. Finally, it says to name two pairs of vertical angles. Vertical angles I'll do in orange. Vertical angles are when they are crossing and they're on opposite sides. So angle 5 and angle 8 would be vertical angles. Angle 7 and angle 6 would also be vertical angles. They're only asking for two pairs, but we'll go ahead and name them all. Angle 3 and angle 2 are vertical angles. And also angle 1 and angle 4. I also wanted to note, when you have parallel lines, you are going to have that some of these are congruent. So in pink, I'm going to write that alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. Corresponding angles are congruent, and we all know that vertical angles are always congruent, whether they're parallel or not. Consecutive interior angles are the ones that add up to 180. So that might help you with some of the next ones. Moving on to 36. It says if angle 6 and 7 are supplementary, which pair of lines are parallel? 6 and 7. If 6 and 7 are supplementary, then these lines would have to be parallel with this transversal. So angle, or line S would have to be parallel to line T. The next one says if we have angle 5 and angle 10, 5 and 10 are these two, which lines would have to be parallel? Well, this is the transversal, and these are the lines that would have to be parallel. So L would have to be parallel to M if 5 and 10 are congruent. 37 gives us parallel lines, and we just need to solve for the variables. So with the parallel lines, there's a lot that you can do. I started by looking at alternate exterior angles. That would make these two congruent. 17x minus 70 would be equal to 2x plus 5. When I solve to get x by itself, let's see, 75 divided by 15 would be 5. So that is our x. And I knew that because these were alternate exterior. They didn't tell us, but just to let you guys know. Now these two are not going to be equal to each other. One of them is obtuse and one's acute, so they're not going to be equal to each other. But they are consecutive interior angles. So I'm going to write consecutive interior angles, which means they add up to 180. So we'll have 3y plus 5 plus 5y plus 15 equals 180. When I go ahead and solve, I'm going to combine like terms and get my constants on one side, variables on the other. And I get that y is 20. On the next one, they tell us that angle 2 is 57, and they just said, find the rest. Well, if angle 2 is 57, angle 3 would also be 57 by vertical angles. Angle 6 would be 57 because it is corresponding with angle 2. Angle 7 would be 57 because it is alternate exterior with angle 2. From there, you can subtract from 180 because you have a linear pair here. So 180 minus 57, I got that angle 1 would be 123. 123 would also have to be angle 4 because they are vertical angles. 123 would also have to be angle 5 because that would be corresponding with angle 1. Angle 8 is alternate exterior with angle 1, so that would also be 123. So we've got all of our angles here. Keep looking at these triangles. If we go to the next page for chapter 5, this is an equilateral triangle. I know that because all of the sides are congruent. They show me that with the tick marks. If all the sides are congruent, I know that they can be set equal to each other. So I'm going to write that this is equilateral. It doesn't matter which two you set equal to each other. So I'm just going to do 4x minus 13 equals x plus 2. When I solve, divide by 3, I get x is 5. They were just asking for x, so I didn't really use the 12 minus x at all. That's okay. You just need to show that two of the sides are the same. For number 40, it asks us to find all the missing angles. I first looked at this big triangle and I solved to get the missing angle by taking 180 minus 80 minus 60, and I got 40. With that, I know that angle 2 is vertical angles with that, so angle 2 is 40, and they're asking us to find all the missing angles, starting with angle 1. But you're going to have to find a lot more than that to help you get there. We did just find angle 2. I know that angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair, so angle 1 would add up to 180 with the 40, so that would leave 140 degrees left for angle 1. From here, there's a lot of things that we can do. Looking at this triangle, I would like to have some more information. Well, I know that the 105 is a linear pair with this angle that's in here. And we can subtract from 180, and when I do that, I get 75. So that little angle is 75, which those that are keeping track, angle 4 is vertical angles with that, so that angle 4 would be 75, which helps us get angle 4. We still need angle 3, so back in this purple triangle, all of the angles in a triangle add up to 180, so we can do 180 minus 40 minus 75 to get, 65 for angle 3. Finally, I looked at this outer piece. You guys might remember that the exterior equals the remote interiors added together. So you can say that the exterior, which is angle 5, we don't know it, is the same as 40 plus 75. And in that case, I get 115 degrees. But let's say that you forgot that. That's okay. I would focus on this triangle and subtract from 180 to get this little angle right here, which is 65. Then I would recognize that the angle 5 is a linear pair with the 65, so 180 minus 65, and you still will get 115. So there's a couple ways you can find that last one. Great job. Number 41 wants us to find x. This is using the theorem that I just discussed. The exterior equals the remote interior plus the remote interior. So our exterior is 151 equals, now let's add these up, 11x minus 1 plus 20x minus 3. When I combine like terms, I get 31x minus 4. Add the 4 over. I get 155 equals 31x, and when I divide by 31, I get that x is 5. Some people might not have recognized that theorem. You could subtract from 180. Let's see, 180 minus 51 and get 180 minus 151 and get 29. So if this little angle is 29, all three of those angles should add up to 180. So another way that I've seen this done is taking 11x minus 1 plus 20x minus 3 plus 29 equals 180. You should also get that x equals 5. I find that the exterior theorem is helpful. This next one wants us to classify the triangle. Whenever it says to classify the triangle by its sides, it'll be either obtuse. No, that would be by its angles. Come on. If it's by its sides, that would be like scalene, isosceles, or equilateral. So we first need to plot these points. -3, 3, 3, 3, and 0, -3. I can count some of this. I can count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that length is 6. It looks like it could be equilateral. So I'm going to check to see what the length of this side is. I can't just count it like I did, but I can set up Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to go ahead and do this in green or orange. When I set up Pythagorean theorem here to find this length, I have 3 and 6. Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That'll give me 3 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. 3 squared is 9. 6 squared is 36. 9 plus 36 is 45. And when I square root both sides, we'll have square root of 45, or that simplifies to 3 root 5. So that's obviously not the same as 6, so it is not going to be equilateral. But could it be isosceles? Let's check this other side. When I do this other side, I also get 3 and 6. So I could start to set up 3 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared, but didn't we just have that? And we got 3 root 5. So both of these sides must be the same, which makes it isosceles. So we used the vertices to figure out what the lengths of the sides were. Since 2 sides were the same and the other side was 6, it would be isosceles. The next couple are proofs. We are going to justify. So it says, given that RS is congruent to UT. So I'm going to put RS and UT are congruent, and RT and US are congruent. We're supposed to prove that the triangles are congruent. One that we're missing here is that ST is congruent to TS. That is the reflexive side, but since it's flipped around, ST and TS, that is considered the symmetric property. Once you have that, the reason that we know those triangles are congruent, your options for this are side, 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 angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side, and then the all-time favorite, HL, which is ASS with 90 degrees. In this particular case, we have side, side, side. So the correct answer would be A, symmetric property and side, side, side. Moving on to 44. We're just going to name the triangles as they're marked. This one is marked angle, side, angle, but then this one's marked angle, angle, side. So this one would be not possible. The next one is angle, side, angle, and angle, side, angle. So ASA. C is side, angle, side on both of them. And then D is also side, angle, side. Great job. .45 gives us lots of options here. They're wanting us to fill in the missing reason for this proof, which is that last statement. So looking here, it says that AC bisects angle DAB. When I look at angle DAB, that means that it's cutting those two in half, which they have that as the definition of an angle bisector. CA is also bisecting DCB. So these two are also congruent, which they also have for definition of an angle bisector. They also noted that we have the reflexive property. Well, those are congruent. So, how do we know the triangles are congruent? We know that the triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle. Should be your answer for 45, which is A, angle, side, angle postulate. Number 46. Number 46 says, from the information in the diagram, can you prove that the triangles are congruent? We have that the angles are all the same, but there is not an angle, angle, angle for congruence. For congruence, your options are side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and HL. So if those are your options, look at what we have here. I have all the angles, but then I also have this side. This is the reflexive side. So I am able to say angle, side, angle. So A is correct. Okay, looking at 47. It says we're supposed to supply the missing reasons. Go ahead and mark your picture. Q and T are congruent. Then it says that QR and TR are congruent. They gave us vertical angles to work with. So these angles in the middle are congruent to each other. And so with that said, how do I know that the triangles are congruent? You would know that by angle, side, angle. And then how would you know that their pieces are congruent? That's going to be CPCTC. So angle, side, angle, and CPCTC, your answer will be D. On 48, they are wondering about the sides of an isosceles triangle. Remember, isosceles has two sides that are the same. They told you that those sides, the legs, are 2x plus 4 and x plus 8. And then they told you that the base is 5x minus 2. We're going to need to find x and plug it back in. Since we know that the two sides are equal, we can set them equal to each other. So 2x plus 4 equals x plus 8. When I solve to get x by itself, I get x plus 4 equals 8. And then subtract 4, and I get x equals 4. That is not our answer, though. they're trying to cut you off by showing you that that's our answer. That's not our answer. Our answer needs to be, what is the length of the base? Well, our base is 5x minus 2. Plug in what we just found, 4. So you'll have 5 times 4 minus 2, which is going to be 18. Your answer should be A on that one. Very good. All right, so for number 49, it says the measure of the larger acute angle in a right triangle is 3 degrees more than 2 times the measure of the smaller acute angle. So you need to draw a right triangle. One angle is always x, and the other one is the one that you have to work with. 2 times that angle will be 2x, but 3 degrees more would be 2x plus 3. From here, you know all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So you can do x plus 2x plus 3 plus 90 equals 180. Combine like terms. Let's see, subtract 93, 87, divide, you get 29. X equals 29. They're asking for the larger angle. So 29 might be an answer, but that's this angle. Let's check to see what the other angle is by plugging in 2x plus 3 is going to be 2 times 29 plus 3. 2 times 29 plus 3 will end up being 61. So the larger acute angle is 61. The next one says we've got a triangle. It's a right triangle, so same setup here. One of them is always x. The other one is 6 degrees less than 5 times the measure. 5 times the measure is 5x, and 6 degrees less than that is going to be minus 6. When I add up all the angles to equal 180, let's see, I have 6x plus 84 6x equals 96. When I divide, I get 16. Now once again, they're asking for the larger acute angle. If this one is 16, we need to plug it into 5x minus 6 to figure out the other angle. 5 times 16 minus 6. When I do that, I end up getting 74. So the larger acute angle is 74 degrees. Be very careful because they're trying to throw you off by giving you 16, or like in the previous example, giving you 29 as an option. Make sure you're reading the directions and you know which angle they're looking for. Okay, moving right along, number 51.
And at this time, please release it.
Sorry about that. Okay. It says find the values of x, y, and z. So when we look at this, I'm going to start by finding x because I've got this triangle and I know that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus 38 minus 56, I will have, let's see, angle x, 180 minus 38 minus 56, I get 86. So angle x is 86. Now, use the multiple choice to help you on this, you guys. Already that eliminates B and C. So it could be A or it could be D because we got that 86. When I then go to find my Y, I found Y by looking at the big triangle. I know the angles of the big triangle. This entire angle up here is 38 and 19 put together. So 38 plus 19 is 57. So if I just look at that big triangle, I have 57. I have 56 down here. And then we have y. Well, to solve for y, just subtract from 180. 180 minus 57 minus 56, and we're left with 67 for y. Since this one says y is 94, I'm going to go with that y is 67 for D. I didn't even have to find z. Now, if you're interested in finding z, I noticed that angle x and z are a linear pair, so I just took 180 minus 86, and I could verify that I got 94 for z. Looking at chapter 4, this one's a little bit hard to show with my iPad because we're talking about these compositions, and there's a lot of rotations, so you guys will need to really use your paper to help you. When we are graphing CDE, you need to start with the original, which is -1, 3, -1, -3, 4, 2, and -5, -1. Make sure that you label. Okay. The first transformation that they want to do is the rotation of 270 degrees counterclockwise. Counterclockwise is to the left. To the left, to the left. You will go to the left. I want you to, it's impossible for me to do on the iPad, but what I want you to do is literally pick up your piece of paper and turn it to the left. 270 degrees is 3 rotations. So 3 turns, 3 rotations to the left. So 1, 2, 3. When I've done that, the title that says Semester 1 Review is now on the right side, and I'm now viewing this graph. When I look at this graph, and I'm looking at C is kind of in the bottom right, I'm looking at D. D is kind of in the bottom right of the graph. And D is the value, and you're pretending that the graph is right side up. So D is the value to -5. Or is that 1 -5? Let's see. D is the value to -4. It's -4. To -4. So I'm going to write that down, that my new D is to -4. I'm going to keep going. When I look at my new C, I guess I missed C. When I look at that C, and I have it turned sideways. When I look at C, it's at -3, 1. And then when I look at my E is at -1, 5. Once you have those written down, turn your paper right side up and go ahead and plot those points. So -3, 1, to -4, and -1, 5. Make sure that you're labeling. All right. Next one we're doing is we're translating it. You always translate from the most recent. That x minus 2 means left 2, y plus 3 means up 3. So from your most recent, which I have in green, you're going to go left 2, up 3. Left 2, up 3 for all of them. Make sure you label it with a double prime. Very good. And that's it. All right, for the next one, the first one is asking us to do a reflection. Oh, well, I guess we have to plot the original first. So here I go. Okay, -1, -3. -1, -3 is here. 4, 2. -5, -1. And that is D and C and E. All right, the first one that they want us to do is a reflection over this line. I'm going to draw that line in a like a yellow color. That line, y equals negative x, is the perfectly diagonal line cutting through our origin. This is our origin, but it is a perfectly negative diagonal line. So I'm going to try to draw that perfectly negative diagonal line. Okay. That is our perfectly negative diagonal line. Now, with that said, to go ahead and do this in green, we are going to have to reflect over that line. So you need to count how far away D is from that line. I'm going to count it like this: 3, 4, 5, 6 away from that line. So from that 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count 6 away the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where you're going to make that point. That's your new D. For C, count how far C is away. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then E is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. Go ahead and connect the dots. All right, that is a good reflection. For the last one, it is a rotation of 90 degrees. This one says clockwise, so that's to the right. So you're going to take your paper and you're going to rotate it to the right. Clockwise is to the right. 90 degrees is one turn. So you're going to turn it once to the right. You're going to see that the semester 1 review title is at the top of your page, but it's on the right side of your page right now. And when I look at that, I'm going to see my most recent, which is what I have in green, and try to visualize where it's at. So looking at my axes, it's going to be at, I'm going to start with C. The green C is at 1, -3. Let's try the D and the E. The D is at, the green D is at 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. 2, so -4, 2. And then finally, the green E is at 5, -1. Once you have those, go ahead and plot them by turning your paper right side up. So when I go to plot my C, I will have 1, -3. And my D is -4, 2. And my E is 5, -1. That's a lot all on top of each other. I definitely recommend different colors. I also think that this graph is not very good. It's hard to see where your axes are, so if you cover over your axes, that might be helpful for you, at least to know where that origin is. Sorry that was so more complicated than it needed to be. All right, very good. Okay, let's see. Scrolling down, we're going to write the rule for this translation. Remember, a translation is just a shift. So when you write the rule, it'll look like this, x, y, and then you'll do some adding or subtracting. So in this particular example, I'll have x, y is moving. My original is here. That's my pre-image, and it's moving here. So I'm just going to focus on one point, this A, and notice that these are going by 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is going down 6. I always like to write what it's doing. So down 6 and right, I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right 5. With that said, if it's going right 5, that'll be x plus 5, and down 6 will be y minus 6. In the next one, this is my original, and it's moving that way. So it is moving, let's see, I'm just going to focus on t. It's moving to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right 6. And it is moving up, 1, 2, 3, 4. With that said, I need to write my rule, which is xy, and it would be x plus 5, and going up would be y plus 4. If you're ever going to the left, that would be x minus a number. Very good. For the next one, it is giving you this situation here, and you have to do all of this. They've graphed the original for you. The first thing that you have to do is rotate this clockwise, 270. Clockwise is to the right. So when I go to the right, you're going to shift it once to the right. Oh, actually, it's 270 degrees clockwise, so that's 3 turns. So you're going to do it 3 times, which ends up having the title on the left side. So when I'm looking at this, I need to see what's happening. So that WTS triangle, I'm now viewing it with my title on the left side. So my W is, let's see, negative 3, 3. My T is negative 1, 5. And my S is 1, 2. When I graph those, negative 3, 3, 1, 2, and negative 1, 5. Don't forget to label. Very good. Once you have that, you're going to take your most recent, and they want you to translate it. That x minus 4 means left 4. Y plus 1 means up 1. Left 4 and up 1. Left 4, up 1. All right, I lied to you guys. This should have been an x plus 4. I had a minor freak out because it was going to go off the graph. So, this should have been a plus 4, which would have made this to the right. There we go. So, right 4 and up 1 for each of the points. Remember to go from your most recent, and remember to label. Whew, all right, the last one is a reflection. I'm going to draw that reflection line in yellow. It's y equals 2, which crosses the y-axis at 2. So this is our y-axis. It needs to cross the y-axis at 2. That's a horizontal line. When I reflect that, I'm going to do this one in blue. I'm going to do my most recent, which is green, and I'm going to reflect it over that line. So my S will be here. My T will be here. And my W will be to across, so here. And that's our final one. So make sure you guys make that change with that error that it is x plus 4. Sorry about that. Okay, very good. On the next one, it says, which transformation maps what's happening here? We do have a reflection. So where is it reflecting? It's reflecting across this line, which is a horizontal line. So These are our options. Reflecting across a vertical line, definitely not that. It is not rotating at all, so it's going to have to be a reflection across a horizontal line. That horizontal line specifically is y equals -1. Okay. Moving on to chapter 8. We're almost there. You guys got this. So the first one's just testing us solving a proportion. When you solve a proportion, make sure you cross multiply. So you'll have 6 parentheses, x minus 6 equals 4 times 3 is 12. When you cross multiply and you have an expression, you have to distribute. So be very careful that you do that. Add the 36 over. You get 6x equals, let's see, 48, and then divide by 6 and you get 8. The next one, this is kind of blurry, so I'll write in black what it needs to be, so that might help you guys. This value should be 50. This value should be 21. This value should be 30. And this value should be 5x minus 5. Now, when you go to solve this, you need to make sure you're setting up your proportions. So you'll have 21 over... There's a few ways you could do this. You could do 21 over 5x minus 5 equals 30 over 50. When you cross multiply, make sure you use your parentheses. 21 times 50 is 1,050. When you do 30 parentheses 5x minus 5, you'll have to distribute that, which gives you 150x minus 150. Add the 150. Which gives you 1,200. When you divide by 150, x equals 8. And that's all they were asking for, so you're good. The next one says you go outside, you're going to measure the flagpole. I'll do that in orange. So we've got a flag. A student who is 5 feet tall stands up straight and casts a shadow that is 8 foot long. At the same time, the flagpole's shadow is 24. So how tall is the flagpole? This is just like having these triangles that are similar. So set up your proportion. If you have x over 5, you can set that equal to 24 over 8. When you cross multiply and solve, you will get that x is 15. So 15 feet tall is your flagpole. We're almost there. Last page, 59. We have these similar polygons. We're wanting to find x and y. When I set this up, I'll have x minus 1 over 6, because those go together. And then you need to use one of your other values as a scale. So I'm going to use 16 and 12. When I cross multiply, you want to make sure you're very careful to distribute whenever you have expressions. 16 times 6 is 96. When you distribute, and solve, I get that x is 9. Now you can still use the 16 and the 12 as your scale, but this time set it up with your y values. The y value is y plus 1, and we're still trying to find that value, so I'm going to match it up with the corresponding side in the other shape, which is 21. When I cross multiply, 16 times 21 is 336. When I distribute, I'm going to move this over. I have 324 equals 12. Y is going to be 27. So those are your two values. This next one is challenging because they gave you the entire length here And you really only need to figure out each individual length. We know that the first little guy is 6, so when you subtract 27 minus 6, you get that this length is 21. We can now set up our proportion. Going along this line, I'd have x over 7 equals, going along the other line, I'd have 21 over 6. Those sides are proportional because we have parallel lines there. When I cross multiply, I have 6x equals 147. And when I divide by 6, I get 24.5. We have one more problem. I have somehow survived this. All right, so number 61, when you set it up, I had 12 over x plus 3 equals, the other side is 21 over 2x plus 2. When I cross multiply, I have 21 x plus 3 equals 12 parentheses 2x plus 2. You need to be really careful with distributing here because there's a lot to distribute. And then you want to get all your x's on the same side. I know what I did wrong. Look up here. I've made a mistake. Let's see if we can find it. When I went up here and I went to distribute, 12 times 2 is 24. I think I tried to write it in the iPad, didn't get it. So then when I subtracted 24, what would I get? 63 minus 24 is going to be 39. Now when I divide by 3, I get 13. X is 13. Always keep in mind that they might ask you to plug it back in. We do get that X is 13. Best of luck on the final exam. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks so much.